Welcome to The Vault at 201 North Broadway, podcast for innovators and problem solvers talking all things small business, entrepreneurship, and workforce development.
Today we have the wonderful Jason Nitschke joining us on The Vault at 201 North Broadway. Jason joined 0 to 5 Montana as their senior childcare business advisor after 8 years in economic development as vice president with the Great Falls Development Authority and the regional director of the Great Falls Area Small Business Development Center. During his time in economic development, he advised and trained nearly 4,000 entrepreneurs and business professionals, helped start over 100 businesses, supported 2,800 jobs, and helped in attracting nearly $75 million in capital investment into area businesses.
Thank you to Big Sky Economic Development for supporting The Vault at 201 North Broadway. Big Sky Economic Development provides leadership and resources for business creation, expansion, retention, new business recruitment, and community development.
Welcome, Jason. How are you today?
I'm wonderful. Thank you. I appreciate it. It's really almost good. As if that intro was written by me.
It's almost like it is, wasn't it? Humble brags.
For the audience, I wrote that.
We typically have our guests write their own bios. Jason, before we get started, we were just having a wonderful conversation about one of our episodes we had with Joel Bertolino, where I was talking about baby cows. You said yourself that you have a wonderful story about baby cows yourself.
Super funny, not about baby cows. About a friend of mine back in the old days, and we'll get to this, I assume. She was doing an interview live on television.
Love it.
At the Montana State Fair in Great Falls.
It's going great places.
And she asked the interview subject whether or not the steer was a boy or a girl.
Oh, snap.
Yeah. So baby cow, steer, boy or girl.
It's a boy.
Should we explain what that means? Steer doesn't have it. They're gone.
Yeah.
It's not a girl either.
Well, I mean, it's still a boy, but it's not a girl.
Correct.
It's a steer.
She was steered in the wrong direction.
Oh, that's hilarious.
I love that. We were talking about that before we got started today, so we wanted to share the story with you all.
Love it. Love it. So good.
Well, Jason, we're going to jump right in now and tell us about you. Did you grow up here in Montana?
Born and raised in Great Falls.
Awesome.
My dad's parents met on a bus in Baker.
Wow.
On a bus?
On a bus in Baker.
Okay.
100 years ago, I guess, around now, right? A long time ago. My grandmother was moving from North Dakota to Great Falls for a job in a hardware store, right?
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
It's a good relocation option.
And my grandfather was moving from Isme, also known formerly as Joe, Montana.
Oh.
I'm a 49ers fan too.
Yes.
Which is cool. And Grandpa was coming up to Great Falls to take a job as a plumber's apprentice. Fast forward to 1975. Born and raised. Yeah. Both my grandparents were entrepreneurs, but the top line, I guess, born and raised in Great Falls, hustler. I was a hustler as a kid. I was shaking down every neighbor for every quarter to mow grass, all of it. Anything I could do as a hustle to make some cash to buy baseball cards.
So you've had entrepreneur in your blood.
Baby.
Since,
yes.
Yeah. What was that like?
What, shaking down the neighbors for a quarter?
Yeah. Well, just having that you had it, if I can't get it this way, I'm going to get it this way mentality. Like, I'm going to make this happen for me.
Well, my parents were both teachers, so not a lot of money in the house with 3 kids and 2 parents with on teachers' incomes. So yeah, I mean, I learned customer service very, very young. Mm-hmm. And, all the way I learned marketing by now I'm going to date myself, by putting ads in the classifieds, teenage boy willing to mow yards.
That's what your ad said?
Yeah.
Love it.
Legit. And, my parents would drive me around town mowing grass in the summer, and that's how I made money. I eventually saved up enough money that when I bought my first car, my parents bought me the first car, I had enough money to paint the car.
Oh my gosh.
That's awesome.
My 1980 Chevy Citation became midnight blue with a gigantic speaker in the hatchback.
That is like the coolest of cool.
Oh, you have
Right
no
there.
idea.
Oh, midnight blue, yeah.
I was
Super
just talking to a student here in Billings about his lawn mowing business, and he's telling me about how much he makes a summer, and I'm like, I think I need to rethink my career. I need to get into some lawn mowing.
Mm-hmm. Not bad, no. And you set your own rates.
Yeah.
If you do a good job and provide a high quality of service.
A good mow.
Yeah. Then they invite you back.
Yeah.
One sale to one person can, evolve into multiple sales to the same person. Guess what you don't have to do? Market yourself more.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Well,
I learned customer retention at about age 10.
That's awesome. Well, so I was going to ask how'd you end up in this line of work, but I feel like we should kind of touch on, you're still an entrepreneur. You had 2 businesses yourself.
I did. Yeah, I did. Crash and burn pretty hard.
That's okay. Tell us about it.
No. No, honestly, I mean, and this is, I think, relevant. I usually begin all of my presentations, classes I teach with this too. My undergraduate degree is in journalism, political science. My master's degree is in communication. At no point along the way did I ever take a business class of any kind, marketing, operations, financial stuff, nothing.
Yeah.
Like completely self-taught, learned and failed a lot along the way.
We say this all the time, is that failure isn't a bad thing. It's a learning experience, and it's been given such a negative connotation, and it's really not. It's, hey, I got back up. I know what to not do now.
Yeah. I got a friend I used to work with, Barnett Spork and Morrison. He, let's just try some stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's the thing. Let's just try some stuff, get to a minimum viable product and service. Let's just try some stuff and get out of your own way and let your customers in the market tell you whether or not it's good.
Yeah.
Right. And that really, when you're starting a business, you listen to a lot of people who know a lot of stuff about stuff.
Yep.
And that's what they tell you.
My, one of my business professors at Rocky Mountain College here in Billings, Scott Severance, he would always tell us in our entrepreneurship classes, sometimes you just have to start throwing spaghetti at the wall and see what sticks, because then that's how you know your spaghetti's ready.
My 9-year-old daughter loves to throw spaghetti at the wall, and it's not to see if it sticks because she likes to throw it.
It's fun to throw.
It is.
I have never thrown spaghetti at a wall.
No, and here's the irony, and I'll pull us back from spaghetti on the wall. My dad is an accountant, CPA. Taught Montana State University, Great Falls for 37 years, longest tenured faculty there in that school's history.
Congrats to your dad.
Well, he's retired now, so he watches a lot of TV.
Congratulations even more to your dad.
Exactly. And my sister, my youngest sister, she has an accounting degree from UM as well. And neither one of them have ever owned or operated businesses. I mean, the people who in my family who have entrepreneurship experience have no academic background. And what I would say to people out there listening, considering entrepreneurship, just because you don't have academic background, right, does not mean that you are not fantastic at whatever it is that you're proposing to do.
Yeah.
We can teach you. Kayla and I and others can teach you how to be a small business owner. We can teach you to be an entrepreneur, and those are a little bit different things, right? Being an entrepreneur has as much to do with the willingness to accept risks and try stuff, and then pivot and tweak and modify.
Yeah.
But we can teach you that stuff. That is, guess what? Why the federal government pays our salaries.
Yes.
Because they believe that we can teach you how to be a business owner.
I think it comes down, your grit, your willingness to do the sometimes scary things.
And accept the risk. Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
We can't teach you to have the expertise in the industry that you're going to have. You have to bring that to the table, but we can bring in the other soft skills for you.
Yeah. And a lot of entrepreneurs are passionate about the thing that they do.
Absolutely.
Yes.
It's the business stuff that they're not good at. And, in my role now, really coaching, advising, training, entrepreneurs in the in the childcare industry, that's it. They love kids. They love to, to help to kind of nurture the next generation in the early education field. And a lot of them, in my experience so far, struggle and are a little afraid of those things. And because they're afraid, they really steer away from business stuff. And childcare is such a fundamental infrastructure element to the workforce and the overall economy that we have to have as economic developers, as regional, we have to have childcare providers.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we do.
You guys probably know this just as well as anybody. And this is not unique to Billings. It's not unique to Yellowstone County. It's not unique to Montana. It's not unique to, it's everywhere in the United States. Employers of all industries are struggling to find workers.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And when you start to look at I have trouble trying to find causation links between things, but there is a lot of correlational data indicators that suggest in communities that have greater access to childcare, their labor force participation rate is substantially higher. When you go to places where they're childcare deserts, there are no access to care, or they're physically further away, labor force participation rate drops off precipitously.
And then it's a cyclical.
Every other business
Yep.
in the area can't find workers. Guess why? It's the barrier of participating in the workforce.
Yep. Yeah.
Gosh, I can't wait to learn more about that. We're going to talk more about Jason's work with 0 to 5 in just a little bit, but we do want to tackle more of Jason.
You want to hear how I crash and burn in my businesses.
We don't have to tackle it if you don't want to, but
no, we can. And I think what's relevant for people a lot of times is why businesses fail. 2 out of 10 businesses within a 12-month period open and close. 2 out of 10. So it's a 20% failure rate.
okay.
50% at 5 years, 70% at 10 years. And then when you get, like my grandfather in Great Falls, my grandfather's business just closed after 90 years.
Oh, wow.
I would argue, yes, it's sad that the business closed, but that's an absolute major league grand slam home run.
Yeah, that'd be a successful business.
So in my case, do you want me to talk about mine?
You can,
the
if
relevance?
you want to, and then lead it to how you ended up in what you're doing today.
Yeah, well, there's a lot there.
Unpack all of it right now with us.
Is this a therapy session?
It can be.
We do charge for this.
I don't know what the ethical implications are, but
would I charge for this? It's therapeutic one way or the other. No, I'm closing in on 50, so it's all there's a lot of baggage. No, but my first business, I told you guys I was a J school grad at UM and took a job in the Salt Lake City area and then moved to Denver. And I started my business out of necessity. I wasn't able to find the work that I was looking for. And in the Denver market in the late 90s, there's a lot of publications, newspapers, magazines, all of that, wire services, universities, colleges, all of it. And this was back before digital technology, by the way. So we were processing film. I was a print photographer as well, photojournalist. So I started a business and I took on every single one of those publications as clients, every single one. And I'll cut this short, but by saying after 3 years of 100-hour weeks, I was really tired.
Yeah. I would assume so.
Why?
And I was in my early 20s. No, exactly. But you talk about burnout in the industries, or whatever the industry is, entrepreneurs take on too much.
Yeah.
Right? They do, especially in the early stages of starting a business. And burnout is a 100% real thing. You cannot work 100-hour weeks and have a life.
Yeah.
You can't.
You're not doing anything to recharge yourself or reset yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And you have to do those things. And so in my pea brain, and I was 22, 23, 24 at the time. So before my brain had fully matured as a man, there we go. There's the laugh. Male brains don't mature until they're like 25, is the reference. In my pea brain, I thought graduate school was a better option than running a business. So I shut her down closed out my accounts, and moved to Hawaii
Oh,
to go to graduate school.
Because if you're going to do it, go for it. Go all the way.
I mean, listen, it just snowed, 20 inches here?
It didn't snow in Hawaii.
But it did.
Oh, no.
Just not on the beach.
So what school in Hawaii did you go to?
I went to Hawaii Pacific University. Really great program. I was really excited to go there for a number of reasons, up to and including being able to study on the beach. Oh, and by the way, guess what it doesn't do on the beach in December? Snow. Or cold.
Yes.
So that was great.
It's quite nice.
Yeah.
And you can grow some really crazy avocados.
Okay.
That's where Kayla's mind is at.
I know. I'm like, I will take a large avocado, please.
I like it.
So that's where you went to pursue the master's in communication, correct?
Yeah. Yes. And the director of our program knew people at the CBS affiliate, which is how I got into TV.
Wow.
I needed a job and they were hiring.
Wow. Sometimes it's not what you know, it's who you know.
100%. This is why I would tell entrepreneurs, it's a team sport, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you legitimately have to build your team. And if you're not building a strong team of advisors who will actually push back against you and say, yeah, and play the what about game, right? Like, well, have you thought about this? And what about that? And holy crap, have you thought about this?
Mm-hmm.
What about this? And, we make it so complicated.
Yeah.
Because it is complicated. And we're trying to minimize and mitigate risk. And we're trying to minimize failure. And that you have to have a team of people who's pushing back.
Absolutely. No, we say that all the time. We have groups here that helps people build that network up. It helps them get connected with like-minded individuals that could potentially be those people on that advisory team, right? These are the people you can sit down, have coffee with, ask questions. We have our mentor group here. So, we help people get connected and tap into people like that. But it is very important to have somebody that will push back against you. You don't want somebody that's a yes man.
Yeah.
Agreed.
We want somebody to be thinking with you and be wanting to push your business forward with you.
Yeah. Yeah. Help you see your blind spots.
Mm-hmm.
That's why the programs that you guys are offering here, Rock 31, mentorships, accelerators, they contract the learning curve. They shorten it.
Mm-hmm.
They help to mitigate risk and make you stronger along the way. It hurts at times, right? Like entrepreneur, it hurts at times to have somebody go, not a good idea.
Yeah.
And yet at the same time, you as the entrepreneur always have to remember who's in charge. You're in charge.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Right?
you.
Ultimately your decision. And I think that's the hard thing when someone's like, that's not a great idea, because with entrepreneurs, that's you. Like, you are putting yourself out there, and it's not like someone assigned you work and here you're completing it. It's coming a little bit after who you are as a person too. So I think that's why it's sometimes hard to hear those like, oh, maybe that's not a great idea. 'Cause you're like, what are you saying? What about it?
Yeah. We were so speaking of accelerators, we actually have our accelerator going on right now. And
Trying to help you market your programs.
oh, thank you so much. We really appreciate it. But we just had elevator pitches this last week, and it's really cool to see, how am I trying to phrase this? People will give their elevator pitch, and then all of the other people a part of the accelerator came together and be like, you know what? I don't resonate with what you think that your pitch is. I'm a single mom, or I'm a mom, and you're doing this, and I think you really need to appeal to the easy meal full of protein that I can go, great, I can mix this into a milk or something like that, and my kid's going to have extra protein, or I can make a shake out of this and be able to get through my day, even though I know I'm not going to have time to sit down and eat a meal. And so, it's really cool to kind of see, work through it, but also being open-minded about it and not taking it to heart to go, well, that's not who I'm trying to sell to.
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes it's taking a step back and going, my target market isn't actually who I think my target market is.
Yeah.
So.
And I think being receptive to that feedback, and, ultimately it comes down to who you are as a person, actually, if you're going to actually listen to what others say. And that's, a double-edged sword, because sometimes people offer unsolicited advice, but we're back to then you are the ultimate decision maker and you decide what advice you're going to take and what you're not.
Yeah. And I would add, even if you do get somebody as an entrepreneur who tells you, that's not a good idea, it just reminds me of when I was a kid, my parents would say, Jason, you're not going to be able to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And what did I do?
Did it anyway.
I am going to prove you wrong. Right?
Oh gosh, I love it. So now that we've talked about your businesses, we talked
about the first one.
We talked about the first one.
There's more.
Oh my gosh. Yes, we still. Tell us about the second one.
Well, I'll accelerate my 16 years in the news industry, 13 in broadcasting.
Any fun stories you want to share from that?
Oh my God. How much time do we have? No, I tell you what, covering things like cat grizz games, being on the field for that kind of stuff. And I was a sports broadcaster primarily. So much fun. And to give people their 15 minutes, right? In most cases in small market TV, and I worked in some large markets too, but when you give people their 15 minutes, they never forget it.
Oh yeah, that's their shining moment.
Yeah. It was really great. But I bounced around the country. Ended up my now ex-wife and I, we moved to St. Louis.
Oh wow.
And I was telling you before we got in, my daughter and I, 9-year-old, we love to like treasure hunt and look for stuff. Not rocks and stuff. Like toys. Like we're looking for toys.
Pirate treasure.
And stuff. Back in the 2011, 2012, this is when I was living in St. Louis. I loved mid-century modern furniture. And so I was buying and selling that stuff. And so we started an estate liquidation company, and we had retail space, and we would sell stuff and, all of it. It was garage sales. I mean, that's what we were doing. We were tagging garage sales in people's houses, and then we were inviting folks to come and buy the stuff.
I love that. Love
so
it.
So much fun.
It is so much fun. I cannot wait. I literally buy vehicles on the amount of things that I think I could put in there for garage sales.
It's like
Fun
Tetris.
fact.
It's literally, it got to a point, and there was a picture of me at some point where I was Tetrised into the back of a car, like, like the L Tetris. That was me into the back full of stuff. But that's what we did that for a bit. And I think for some privacy issues, I'll just leave it there. It didn't last very long, but I loved it nonetheless. It was great. And then had a baby and life changed. And eventually moved back to Great Falls after a couple of years in state government in Illinois. Reading insurance policies was a transition into a more stable, but oh my gosh. Thank you. No, thank you.
I too had my insurance license and very much said to myself, I don't want to do this ever again, and let that thing lapse.
So when I got into the insurance world, I was reviewing insurance policies. This was right around the time when the Affordable Care Act was launching.
Okay.
And so I was so bored by it was awful, to be honest.
It's just terrible jargon.
We were reviewing like insurance policies from companies for compliance with state law.
Oh.
And so like, oh my gosh, I wish there was AI then, because artificial intelligence would have made my job so much better. But what I ended up doing was I was innovating. I was problem solving I see this as entrepreneurial.
Yeah.
I was trying to figure out the most effective and the most efficient way for me to do this horrible job, which was I wrote a manual. These are all the FAQs. These are all the frequently common mistakes that you get from insurance carriers related to their Affordable Care Act health policy and whether or not it complies with state. And so that was the product I created, was this book, this manual that then allowed me to just copy and paste, like search and find, right? The function, like I got super fast. I'm tapping the table here with my fingers, control F. And I would search I could get through a policy in like 15 minutes.
Wow.
So I was being my own AI.
Yeah.
There you go.
Who knew I was so innovative?
You had something there and you let it go.
Happily.
It wasn't worth it in the end.
So here you are reviewing insurance policies up in Great Falls.
No, this was in Illinois.
Oh, that
And
was
then-
in Illinois.
And then my daughter was born. We eventually moved back.
Moved back to Great Falls. So here you are in Great Falls.
Yeah.
And for a while, you worked in the SBDC. You were an SBDC regional director.
Well, technically, I still am contractually, but yeah, I took an opportunity at the Economic Development Organization in the Great Falls region and ran the Small Business Development Center program there for 8 years. Yeah.
Wow.
It was great. I loved it. I mean, vicariously living through entrepreneurs when I have no ability to accept the risk myself.
I feel that way sometimes too. I'm like, you do it.
Love
and
it.
I'm here to be your biggest cheerleader.
I love it. It's so great. And, we get the really frequently asked questions, which become easy to answer over time. It's the harder stuff because you work with a lot of people who are various levels of sophistication in their entrepreneurial journey and their business kind of acumen and their ability to speak, be financially literate and stuff. And helping those people kind of implement core concepts and frameworks and structures and then see it applied and see it mushroom cloud into this awesome and beautiful thing. It's just really wonderful. I
Rewarding
love it.
work.
Completely.
Sure.
Yeah.
Speaking of the SBDC, they are one of the sponsors of this podcast, as our listeners know. So real quick, let's take a break and hear a sponsor message from them.
Thank you to the Small Business Development Center for sponsoring The Vault at 201 North Broadway. The Small Business Development Center provides you with free one-on-one counseling, business plan assistance, marketing research, financial projection assistance, and more to small businesses.
So we've talked about your time in the Small Business Development Center.
Yeah.
You were a huge, for us, I mean, me and Lorene, we loved hearing your opinion on things, and
Vice versa.
we would
Thank
send
you.
you things and you would send like so much back. Your brain holds so much information that we were like, what do you mean he's going over to 0 to 5? How are we going to get all of our information?
That's when you play the wah, wah, wah.
Yeah.
Do it. Sound effect. Do it. Oh, that's great.
So on top of us being a little sad that you departed and headed over to 0 to 5, we totally get it. We understand you have a higher calling over there.
More money and less responsibility. It's great.
So we just kind of want to know, like, why don't you tell us a little bit about 0 to 5?
Sure. Well, first of all, I sought them out, right? Like I'll just let you guys know. Part of the reason why I left what I was doing is because I felt like the childcare industry, primarily woman-owned and operated, was being left behind.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like I could make a difference. And so I was able to successfully migrate the exact same concepts just to a target. And I love being able to specialize in one industry. You know the challenges, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what are the challenges that you see when you're working with 15 or 20 different industries in the span of 1 week? What are the challenges?
Well, keeping them all together.
Yeah.
Remembering their names.
Keeping up with those industries. Too.
Yeah. I mean, it's really
Stuff.
hard because you get asked questions about certain industry. And I mean, I just said this to somebody the other day, I know a lot about a lot of things, but I'm not an expert in every industry. And so that's where I rely on
Inch deep,
data
a
I
mile
can
wide.
pull and
Yeah.
things like that.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I felt the exact same way. And I think a lot of people that you talk to who do this type of work, whether they're paid consultants or, SBDC, SBA funded resource partner programs, I've heard the exact same thing from a lot of different people. Inch deep, a mile wide, and never get a focus.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I was seeing in the workforce post-COVID across all industries was the exact same words coming out of different faces. And it was all about workforce. It was all about, consumer behaviors changing. It was all the same. And it seemed to me that the childcare industry, economic developers were leaving the childcare industry behind, and yet so fundamental to the overall economy. And I wanted to make a difference. Oh, and by the way, I had heard these people at 0 to 5.
Mm-hmm.
I had heard them. They had invited me to teach a class.
Oh,
And our state director, Chad Moore, had called me and thought, hey, what do you think about this thing about putting a specialist and embedding, somebody, childcare specialist? And I'm like, I love it, man. It's freaking awesome. Oh, and by the way, we don't have to pay anything for it because they're fully funded themselves.
yeah.
And so it just economically made a lot of sense. added some diversity to the SBDC network and the overall economic development world. And so I started to ask people questions because I had childcare clients.
Yeah.
I work with, a handful, 3 or 4 of the largest childcare providers in North Central Montana I've worked with over the years through expansions, and that $75 million, they fit in there too.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started to ask, hey, what do you think about these people? So I started doing my research. Caitlin Jensen, our executive director, 100% response rate. Awesome. Great person, well-respected, high quality, love her to death. And it's bared out. It's 100% true. It's great. They 0 to 5 historically started in 2018.
Okay. So it wasn't established just to tackle what was happening during COVID.
No. Prior to that, and the Headwaters Foundation out of Missoula capitalized the 0 to 5 advocacy work, which is policy advocacy, and right now they're all focusing on the legislature, which has moved the needle a lot. When I forget the exact number of bill count that went into the legislature last legislative cycle. I want to say it was somewhere in the range of 5 or 6 childcare related bills that were presented last legislative cycle. 5 times that this cycle. So the work that they did was moving the needle. And so they were making a really meaningful impact on policy, general overall awareness of the industry and how it impacts the workforce. And then ARPA came along, and money came into the Department of Public Health and Human Services. DPHHS said, our childcare providers need more unique, specialized business technical assistance and training.
Yeah, absolutely.
They have access to SBA resource partners and commerce programs like Native American Business Advisors and others. But what we need in this industry is specialists. We need somebody who is focusing on us. And so they create a program, eventually became what was called Childcare Business Connect, unprecedented investment in the childcare industry, federal money passing through the state. And the first hire was a woman named Rhonda Schwenke, program manager. She was in charge of license. She ran Center for Generations here in Billings. Very well, I started asking people about her. Exact same answers. Every single person I talked to, really awesome people, great people. And when you hear the exact same things, it's like a magnet, right? Like I want to
you're like, I want to be a part of that.
I want to be a part of it. And if I can move the needle and help the industry and be around these people too, awesome. And long story short, here I am 6 months later.
I love it. Well, one thing I think a lot of people want to know is, what is a common misconception about childcare businesses?
Ooh. What do you say to not upset somebody, right?
Yeah.
I think I would rely on what the industry tells us about themselves, which is we have just completed recently our survey of providers in Montana, and there's the total number of childcare providers is coming down. Yeah. Which is not good because there's actually more need than less, and yet COVID has impacted so many that I don't know. I'm trying to remember the numbers. Somewhere between 200 and 300 closed in the state throughout the year, throughout the last few years. So I think there's somewhere in the range. I could be wrong here. Somebody will correct me. 900-ish, somewhere in that range. And we surveyed them, and they told us they don't see themselves, number one, as business owners. Mm-hmm. Number two, they don't think that they get the respect as a professional occupation that they probably deserve. And I concur.
Wow. I never would have guessed that.
Yeah. So 900 childcare businesses across Montana.
Somewhere in that range, yeah.
Okay.
I think that's about right.
Wow.
Maybe less than that.
Doesn't seem like enough.
No.
Correct. It's not. And then there's there's the economics of it all. And I think what most people will, another misconception here is that, well, we pay so much for our kids to go to care, $45, $50, whatever it is per day. These providers have got to be loaded if they're charging that kind of money.
Oh God, no.
I mean, you're talking about one of the lowest paid occupations of all, full stop, period.
Yeah.
$23,000 a year is the average income for a childcare worker in Montana. You tell me, would you take that job?
No, that's heartbreaking.
The national average is 27.
Wow. So it's not better anywhere.
No,
It's bad. It's not good. Yeah.
Yeah. I have two women in my life that they're both sides of the card with childcare. One can afford childcare, but there's none where she lives available. The other one can't afford, there's childcare available, but she can't afford it. So she stays home, and then, that cycle of can't afford childcare. So then we only have one income, and then it, builds on that. And so it's interesting to hear, two people that are very close to me. I see both sides of it, and living in Montana and trying to navigate the childcare realm is hard, but that's why we have people like you to help.
No, and I'm legitimately invested, a single dad, my daughter's out of care, but I struggle during the summer times and after school care sometimes too. Yeah. I mean, even that, and listen, I'm comfortable financially and, not rich by any means, but you know what I'm saying? Like, even for me, it's a struggle.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine what it would be like on two incomes, making quite a bit less than maybe even what I make. And, the data, what you guys know the rule of thumb for what kind of you should be paying for your mortgage or your rent.
Yeah, it should be like a third of what you bring
your
home.
take home income. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And what's the Montana Budget and Policy Office? What do you think that they say? Child care should be as a percentage of household income. Yes.
Is it half of what you earn?
No, that'd be a lot.
I was like
a 10%.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Budget and Policy Office.
Wow.
Says,
I thought you were trying to crazy scare us, but you're trying to scare us the other way.
I'm going to scare you the other way. Budget and Policy Office says 10% of a family's household income would be considered affordable childcare out of home.
Oh,
right?
well, that's just not it.
No, it's not it. And in reality, this comes back to the wage issue, and I'm going to talk about this in Hardin. The reality is, to be able to compete for labor, if you can't staff it, you can't do it, right?
Yeah.
You might be able to capitalize it, but if you can't staff it, you can't do it. If you can't hire people and keep them, and this leads into another thing, 50 to 60% annual turnover rate in the industry of workers, childcare workers, 50 to 60% turnover every single year. 1 out of every 2 enters and exits, right?
Wow.
That's bad news bears when you're trying to retain and grow and try to solve the problem overall. That's
really hard on the kids too.
Yeah.
Because they get attached to somebody and then they leave.
So right. So spot on. Exactly. Kids want routine.
Oh yeah. They crave that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, my daughter. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
It's a problem. And so when these rates have to go up, families will go, oh my God, rates just went up, 6 months ago. Well, we're talking about having to compete now for employees with corporate retail and food. Never had to do that before in the childcare industry, just to compete for workers. And if you can't staff it, you can't do it. And so guess what happens? We don't have workers in the industry. So therefore, there's actually a worse problem.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh. Well, and then if you don't have enough employees, you can't have as many children there,
no,
right? Isn't there so many?
That's correct. That's ratio rules. Yes, that's correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very unsettling thinking you need more kids to make more money, but then you need more employees, but then you have to pay those employees, and then it just builds up on itself.
Well, and this begs the question, why is there such a shortage of infant care? Kids 0 to 24 months old. Well, the ratios are 4 to 1. One of my friends, a childcare operator in Great Falls, a woman named Lori O'Leary, really great, love her to death. I went to high school with her husband. And she said, what's ironic is when you go from the ratio of 4 to 1, 4 infants to 1 kid, and then they graduate to, they're 25 months old. So they're now 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 years old. The rates don't double, right? You don't double, even as the ratios increase. So the economics they're a little broken. And so we have got to figure, and this is the task that I've taken on.
Yeah.
is to help these businesses figure out how to diversify revenue and to set cost-informed rates, to price themselves accordingly so that they can pay living wages to their employees. These people are early educators.
Yeah.
I was mentioning this to Lorene before, to get licensed as a childcare facility, you have to have curriculum for your kids, right? I mean, this is Head Start readiness. This is Montessori led. I mean, those are the two kind of ends of the spectrum. You have to have classroom philosophy. And, oh, by the way, you have to actually deliver on your curriculum.
Yeah.
That's the industry. And unfortunately, what's happening is people who don't do that, or they don't want to comply with the ratios, they become unlicensed and illegal providers, driving families, and this happens in rural communities really because there's no other options. What are your other options? And so now we've got kids in illegal care where there's no ratios, 14 babies to one adult.
Oh my gosh.
You tell me. I mean, how many diapers do you want to change a day?
Not that many.
I love my nieces and nephew dearly, but especially as infants, you're around them for, a couple hours, and boy, am I tired. I can't imagine
having 14 of them.
Of infants, yeah.
I just pulled a number out of my
Oh, okay. I was like, oh my God.
Still.
No, even if it's 4, and that's the ratio in infants, 4 to 1. I mean, can you imagine?
That's a lot.
It's
yeah.
still
4
exhausting.
kids under 2. I mean, these kids can't roll, some of these kids can't roll over.
No, yeah.
Right? They can't feed themselves, I mean, they're babies. These are babies.
Yeah.
It's hard work. I respect the people who work this industry more today than I did before, and I respected them a lot before.
Yeah. Well, and then from infants, where you have to do everything for them because, they haven't developed that yet. But then when they start to walk and they're mobile, and then you have how many kids that you're overseeing, and, you look away for 1 second and they're gone doing something. So it's hard that's why there's those, numbers. You have to have so many workers per children because it's a lot to take on, a room full of kids.
And all of those workers are required to have background checks, criminal background checks, and they have to be certified and trained in first aid CPR. Yeah. Because what do little kids do? They put everything in their mouth. And it's not just their fist.
No. Everything.
I'll tell this story. Oh my gosh, my daughter is going to kill me. There was a time when my little girl was not walking yet. We had dogs at the time, and she was crawling around the backyard, and I thought that I had scooped all of it.
All of the goods.
Oh, no.
I was incorrect. She put it in her mouth.
No.
Oh darn. Oh darn.
Yeah.
That's unfortunate.
No, but that's the point. Like, kids put everything in their mouth. Anything is, a lot of stuff is a choke hazard. You know what I mean?
Oh gosh.
It is really scary. I have had to do the finger pluck out of a baby's mouth before to get the thing, and nothing gets your heart racing faster than a baby choking.
Oh gosh, yeah.
It just makes me sick thinking about it.
Oh yeah.
And I haven't eaten lunch yet.
We're torturing Jason over here.
No, all good.
Jason, we've kind of touched on some of the things, but tell us what kind of assistance 0 to 5 provides business owners that are looking at starting, expanding, just maybe increasing their daycare or childcare business.
Yeah, you bet. So there's 5 primary things that we do as tasked by the Department of Public Health and Human Services. It's in our RFP response, and it's what we're committed to. The first thing is to train, right? Training on business-specific topics. We are not trying to duplicate what the resource and referral agencies do, like HRDC here in the area.
Okay.
We don't spend time in the classroom, although when you're picking as a provider, when you're picking your direction, what's your classroom philosophy, we have to ask that question because there is a marketing overlap there. Parents want to know what kind of services they are paying for. And if a provider is providing, kindergarten readiness, or on the other side of the spectrum, something that's more Montessori and child-led, you need to know that kind of stuff. It goes on your website and in your marketing stuff, right? And helps to differentiate you from your competition. So we train people on a variety of business-specific topics, fully focused on the business elements. I have taught a lot of these classes recently and will continue to do so. A lot of
You're
it's
familiar
finance.
with teaching classes, so.
I am. And, and I always come back to, I am also, by the way, that guy who didn't take any of these academic classes when I was studying journalism and comm theory. You know what I mean? So that, and then I do what I used to do. And I did that before too. I taught a lot of classes. I helped you become Profit Mastery certified. By the way, if you haven't taken Profit Mastery class, are you guys offering Profit Mastery?
Yes, we will have Profit Mastery this year.
Really great financial literacy course for people who need it, and continuing ed credits too, if you want them. Shameless plug for you guys.
Thank you.
And
again,
you're welcome. I'm here to support you. And then technical assistance one-on-one, customized, 100% confidential one-on-one help for these providers, helping them solve whatever problems they perceive to have. And sometimes, in my experience, you've seen this too, right? People come in and say, hey, I've got this problem. Oh, I'm not profitable. I need to do more marketing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That those two things aren't necessarily directly linked. It could be that you need to run your business better. You need to operate better. You need to, so we do TA, and that's 100% customized. I'm embedded with the SBDC contractually still. And then there's three other things that we're doing. Two of them I'm kind of adjacently embedded with. And then one of them I spent a lot of time. We're in the process of launching. We're a new program, so we're writing a lot of content.
Yeah.
Self-paced, guided resources, tools, stuff.
Well, that's awesome.
That will be published on our website. Hopefully it'll launch here in April. Let's just call it mid-April. So the two other things that we do or will be doing are currently being prepared to launch. One is a mentorship accelerator program for early stage startups or companies that are changing substantially. For example, an in-home care provider looking to enter into a center model, two different licensing situations there. And so that's another thing, mentorship accelerator, pairing proteges with mentors, people more experienced, and we're working them through curriculum.
Love
So
it.
accelerating the learning process and giving them support.
Absolutely. Helping them with that advisory board, right?
Yes, absolutely. And somebody that's industry specific and who's operated a business before in this industry. And that can be really helpful. And then the third thing is we're trying to support communities. So our community capacity building project, we've selected our next 6 communities. Really exciting work that can happen there. A lot of that's happening in the rural communities. It's community led. How do we figure out and come up with an action plan to solve the childcare problem, which will then hopefully address our workforce problem, which will then hopefully address our overall economy.
Yeah.
And you can math this stuff out. If you get more people back into the workforce at a certain dollar amount of wages paid, you can see what the new tax base increase can be. It's, there's a formula. It's math.
Love it. Love math. It's my favorite. Fun fact,
I have
it's
a
not
journal.
really my favorite.
Journalist here, right? Like I'm a journalist. We can teach you this stuff.
Yeah.
And by the way, finance is fun, especially when you apply concepts and it really benefits your piggy bank.
Oh, yeah. I think biggest thing is knowing what's happening in your financing, like your finances is really important. We have people who come to us and they're like, oh, what is a P&L? And they've been in business for like 3 years. And we sit there and we're like, all right, let's do this. Let's work together to get you to understand where you're at and then get you to start looking at these a little bit more often.
Procedures, man. I tell you, procedures, even by just looking at it, you become more knowledgeable and literate because you're just looking at it. And this is where advisors, I don't know how many times you do it, but when I was, working at the SBDC in Great Falls, regularly, monthly, I was having these monthly financial reviews. And when you're aware of these things and you can see what's coming down the pipeline, money in or money out, you can make actionable real life in
the moment
world changes to, affect cash flow in a more positive way. And if you're not aware of that stuff, come in one day and you go, oh boy, I got to draw down from my line of credit.
Yeah.
Well, that's not good. You got to pay interest on that.
Yeah. That is very true, Jason. You're providing a lot of great information today.
Oh my God. You guys are going to fully edit this whole thing out, aren't you?
Yeah, it's literally just like, welcome, Jason. And then it's going to be really quiet. And it'll be like, thank you for listening today.
No. We'll leave in the sound bite of the
leave into wah, wah, wah.
Do it again. So fun.
That is awesome. Well, you've helped a lot of business over the years. What would you say to a business owner just getting started?
Two things I would say. One of them I referred to already. Any guesses? Surround yourself
with good people.
Good people.
Yeah.
Build a team.
Yep.
Entrepreneurship is a team sport, I've heard others say. That's one. Number two, connect your idea to dollars very early. You know, the difference between an idea and a concept is the dollar sign attached to it, right? And every decision a business owner makes has a financial impact. Every single freaking one.
Yeah.
One. Do that really early in the process.
Yeah. And continue to review things.
Yes.
That should be I'm going to add that in. I know that's not yours, but that's mine. Know where you are.
Yeah. No.
Know if you can make money, right? And then know where you are all the time.
Financial feasibility at every stage.
Absolutely.
Correct. Yeah. And I would say that that's not an annual exercise.
No.
And that's not the job of your tax preparer.
Jason, we've talked a lot about 0 to 5. And so I want you to share with everyone anything fun coming up and then also where they can learn more about your program.
Childcarebusinessconnect.com, 0to5.org.
Okay.
One or either.
Perfect.
Get you to the same site.
Awesome. Anything fun coming up that you'd like to do a shout out on?
We're actually going to be here at Big Sky for our Mentorship Accelerator partnership launch in May.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So if you want to learn more, you can catch them at 0to5.org or you can come to one of their amazing events.
And if you want to be a mentor to the childcare industry or you want to be a protege participant in that program, we are actively taking applications.
Awesome.
Childcarebusinessconnect.com.
Childcarebusinessconnect.com. I love it. We always like to end our episodes with some rapid fire questions.
Oh, hey-oh.
I'll let Carly take the lead over there.
Be gentle.
These are hard hitters. What is your favorite activity to do in the summer?
In the summer? I grew up playing sports, right? I love baseball, love baseball.
Oh, awesome.
And I love going to ball games. I took my daughter to her first major league game in San Francisco last year. She loved it. I am also a coach for my daughter's softball team.
Oh, nice.
And I absolutely love teaching little kids the sport. I love it. It's just great.
Yeah.
Awesome. What is a favorite book you just read? And I guess in the last year.
Oh my God. So, all right. So I read a lot, but when, the kids have got reading, you have to have,
you
have to read
Yeah.
a certain number of minutes. And so every night, oh my God, a nerd card here. Okay. Are you guys ready for this? So, oh my God, a Star Wars book, probably.
Oh, awesome.
That's what I read when my daughter's doing her reading assignments is how do I decompress, pick up and,
Star Wars. That was my next question is how do you de-stress?
Oh my God.
Reading a Star Wars book. It's fun. I was just having a conversation not that long ago about how, people really push like self-help books or professional development books, which are great. Like, don't get me wrong, I love a good self-help book, but sometimes I just crave like a fictional book, right? Fiction.
Yeah.
I was fiction fake. It's like how I remember.
Fiction's fake.
Remember the two, but I crave.
Do you also look at your left hand to determine which was your left hand? It's the L.
Sometimes my brain's so clogged up. No, exactly. So I don't need to read another self-help book. Sometimes I don't always need to be in learning mode. So I appreciate that you mentioned, you read a Star Wars book instead of, some very complex self-help book, which are still good, and they're good to read those for personal and professional development.
I find them very difficult to get through, so I am a fiction reader.
But yeah, so sometimes
murder mysteries, yes.
Star Wars. Love
no.
me some sci-fi.
I'll bring it back. Okay, I'll ruin your day on the self-help
don't
stuff.
tell us.
Simon Sinek Start With Why is really great. I mean, that's really sets the true north for me when I'm talking to people about marketing messaging.
Yeah.
It's really good.
What was that again?
Simon Sinek, Start With Why.
Start with why. I just read his Leaders Eat Last.
Mm-hmm.
It's great. He's got a great podcast too.
Well, we'll have to give him a shout out.
Yeah.
Simon. I'll say it like I know him. But.
Yeah, like we're best buds. I wish, but
No, there's a lot of great stuff out there. I mean, there's, if you're looking to become a better leader, that book to me is my Bible.
yeah. There we got a balance. We got a good self-help book and
Star Wars.
And the good Star Wars book.
Can
Listen,
I ask?
I told you guys, I worked 100-hour weeks and I learned burnout, and this is how I
Burnout recovery.
Yeah, I love it.
What can I ask? What Star Wars book it is? Is it like one of the episodes in book form?
I have. Okay, so recent. Oh my God, you guys are doing this to me. My daughter is going to be so embarrassed. She
Does she listen to podcasts?
No. Good point. Very good point. Very good point. She's 9. She's like, I told her today when I dropped her off at school, like, I'm gonna go be on a podcast, and I was like, are you excited for me? And she looked at me like, Daddy, you're stupid.
They sure know how to make you feel good, huh?
And I said, oh, you must not love me. She goes, no, I love you. I just don't care.
Oh,
It's great.
tough love.
But to answer your question, so the Rogue One movie,
Mhm.
I read a book called Catalyst, was a prequel to that movie. And then I am currently reading the Aftermath trilogy.
Okay.
Which comes after the original.
Yep.
Whatever.
That's okay. I have never seen all of the movies. And so I am currently working my way through
Oh, cool.
all of the movies. So who knows? Maybe I will join you on the book.
Your
reading
recommendation.
at some point.
No, I don't think you need to do that. No, I grew. 1977 was the first movie. I mean, that stuff came out when I was my daughter's age.
Yeah.
I played with the toy. I still have the toys.
Wow.
Wow. Don't tell people that.
Yeah, they're coming for him.
Well, listen, I mean, after I leave here tonight, guess where I'm going?
Are you going to the comic store?
I'm going to go to the toy stores, yeah, and look and see if we can find some stuff.
There we go.
All
We've
right.
got some really cool ones here. There's what's that one? It's like dragon something.
Oh, Dragon Eggs games or Dragon Egg games.
That one's really cool.
Yeah.
You can get replica swords and stuff.
It's that one. Or are you thinking of Silverstorm?
Silverstorm too.
Yeah.
Not soon to be member investors at Big Sky.
Maybe. Who knows?
But check them both out. 'Cause
I am planning to spend money tonight.
Yeah, they're cool places.
I asked my daughter what she wanted me to pick. She goes, "You better pick me up something too." And I was like, "Okay, what do you want?" She's like, "I don't know, anything cool Disney, anything cool Stitch, anything cool Barbie." So
There's going to be a lot of Barbie stuff coming out because there's the Barbie movie with Ryan Gosling
Oh yeah.
and
oh my God,
Margot
I need to
Robbie.
start saving now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there'll be a ton of stuff.
All the cool Barbie stuff.
Well, Jason, it has been a pleasure to have you on today.
So much
We
fun.
had
Awesome.
so much fun. I love when we can laugh and talk about hard topics together and learn more about resources for businesses in the childcare industry. So,
And thank you for what you guys do for the entrepreneurs in your region. Big Sky ADA, Rock 31. It's so awesome what you guys have done here. You should be proud of it.
Thank you.
thank you. We're gonna take that credit.
Yep. It was Kayla and I.
Steve, if you're listening.
Well, thank you again, and we look forward to having you on maybe another time.
Anytime.
Awesome. Thanks, Jason. Thank you for joining. You can find the resources and tools mentioned in today's episode at thevault201.com. If you like this episode, be sure to subscribe and share with a friend.